Kiaorana and welcome to Kiaorana News, brought to you by Abna Television. I am your host, Ngaiva Maro. Right now, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce to you my old friend, Nick Tui Tasi. Kia ora, Nick. Welcome to Kiaorana News.
Kia ora, brother. Thank you for having me back.
Kia ora, my bro. What you been doing lately? Can you tell me about yourself?
Certainly. Well, from the time that we worked together at Te Wānanga Aotearoa.
Yes, it's been a while.
It has been. From there I moved to the parenting place and I delivered the Pacifica parenting program there for about 9 years. And then from there I moved on to Family First New Zealand, which is an advocate group for strong families, for strong marriages, for healthy kids. And all we do at Family First is we monitor what's coming into the country, what could jeopardise or could upset families, and then we let people know through a series of whānau or conferences or material that so families are aware of things that are changing so that they can make the appropriate changes to suit healthy families, basically. So I love it. It's a big change from the work that we've done, but it's great that we're still in touch.
Sounds great. How long have you been there?
Just on 3 years now with Family First. Yeah,
Okay.
and it's been really, really good. There's been some challenges. A lot of our work was done just prior to the last election, where we were pushing the referendums for euthanasia, against euthanasia and against the legalising of cannabis, recreational use of cannabis. We won the cannabis vote, but we lost the euthanasia one. So we keep looking at what's coming into the country from overseas or from within, and then we just educate our families on, hey, here's something that we need to be careful of. For example, again, and we spoke about this last time, which was the genderless birth certificates. Very unusual for our Pacific people. That's not the way we operate, where we really celebrate when we say we have a son or we have a daughter. That particular law says that parents don't have to give their child a gender, and that the kid can choose their gender later on when they get older. That's quite different. So that law has been passed, and we brought that to the attention. We had many people who were against it, but the law was passed anyway.
Okay. My friend, you're working at Family First. I believe you heard or know about the suicide.
Yes.
The news about young people committing suicide. Can you run through that?
Okay.
Can you give me more information about that?
Certainly. That really disturbed me, only because last year around October, the government came out with some really good news that suicide rates were dropping, which is fantastic. But I noticed as I researched that although it was dropping for Māori and for others, it actually went up slightly for Pacific, which was a bit scary. And then, of course, just very recently, I think just in the last week, St. John's Ambulance brought out their statistics explaining that that the attempted suicides have actually increased up by 30%. And when you compare the current ones to maybe 2019, it's increased 77%. So, yeah, I'm a bit disturbed about that, especially for our Pacific people, because back in the police, that was a role that I played amongst, working amongst the gangs of the young ones that were committing suicide. So I just wanted to offer some suggestions and offer some help to our Pacific people, because obviously we're the ones that are dragging in the stats.
Yes.
So it's always good to give our people some tools.
Definitely. Before you give those support to our people, what is the cause of it? If you can elaborate more on that.
Well, even the government doesn't know, what the cause is. There are a lot of contributing factors. I wouldn't sort of be able to put my finger on it and say, oh, it's only because of this. But there are things that we need to be aware of. And I guess when a person loses hope, when a person is depressed, they look at that as an option. And I think that's one of the important things is for us, especially from our Pacific parents.
Yes.
We need to keep an eye on it, because the increase of the suicides is those under the age of 14. So those are the ones that parents are still, in charge of. So I just wanted to bring that to the attention of our Pacifica, that you know the St. John's are really concerned about kids under the age of 14 attempting suicide. And if that's, you know, our Pacific people, then we need to do something about that, eh? We can't just sit by and let that go without somebody trying to offer some sort of assistance.
Thank you very much for that. So, what other areas that we can reach out to get support, you know, to minimize the cost of this?
Okay. I know there are some good organisations out there. I know that Mike King has been, you know, really pushing this. But I think for our Pacific people in particular, I want to just give them a bit of a template that they can use so that they can use it on their own children, just so that they can compare just how their kids are doing. So back in my policing days, there was this model that we stumbled across by accident. We call it Samoan science. You just keep doing it until somebody tells you you're doing it wrong, but no one did. But then I met somebody who had the theory to that, a guy by the name of Lloyd Martin. And one day him and I met and we had a chat, and everything that he had in this model, we were actually already doing in the Mount Roscoe Police. So it was amazing that it just fit hand in glove. So I just want to bring some of that learning to our Pacific parents, because although it was some years ago, it hasn't changed a lot apart from the fact that social media has sped things up. So what I'd like to share with our Pacific parents is there are 4 areas in the child's life that the parents need to be paying attention to. Okay, so first of all, it's the first, I'll put it like a legs of a chair, right? And on the legs of the chair, if they're solid, a young person can operate and can live their life on a solid foundation. So the first one is family, whānau, ainga. So if the family is solid, if mum and dad are doing their job, if the kids are growing up in a safe, healthy, you know, environment, then that's a great thing. And this is what our kids need. They need to be able to come to a place, you know, yeah, you can do stuff out in the community and everybody can dog on you, but when you come home, that's got to be a sanctuary. There's got to be a safe place where they can just let down their guard. Mum and dad can love on them. You know, yeah, there's always going to be a civil rivalry going on, but that's just growing up in the family. But the kid needs to be able to know that they can get fed, the kid can, you know, be encouraged, the kid feels loved. That's really, really important, because then the next leg is the 2 E's, education and employment. And that's when they go out either to school or they go out to work, right? They have to be involved in one of those 2. They can't be just sitting at home playing games, or they can't be out on the street doing nothing. So for the second leg, you're either one of the 2 E's, education, getting educated, or employed.
Employment.
Yep. If their family life is solid, they're going to be able to sort of work with something, eh?
Right.
The difficulty is if the family's not solid and then they're failing at school, that's 2 legs that the kid can't lean on, eh? Then you move over to the 2 C's, or I call 3 C's when we're talking about Polynesians, because we have a community, rules, we have the culture, and then we have the church. So with those 3 things, it's important that they obey the rules of the community. Our parents need to be encouraging their kids to be law-abiding, to be kind, to be nice, to be, you know, to show respect. And that's what families are, that's the best learning space for young people, so that when they can do that properly at home, they can go out to the community and practice that. The second thing is the culture. They need to know where they've come from, so they know where they're going. And unfortunately, a lot of Pacific people have picked up the black culture, you know, so they're from the United States of Otara. And yeah, they got a lot of that stuff going. So that's an identity crisis. The parents need to remind them where they come from, teach them what, you know, all of the great things from the Cook Islands, from Samoa, from Niue, from Tonga, the things that make us unique. And then finally, the church. The church should play a really important part, but it shouldn't dominate the whole life. Everything in moderation. So I know that many of our growing up, we struggled because we were at church about every night and stuff, and then of course you don't do your homework and you get to school, you start to struggle. Eh? So everything needs to be balanced. And then the final leg, so you got your family, the two E's, the 3 C's, and the last leg is your friends, the friends that the kids hang out with. And it's important that the parents monitor those friends and do their best to encourage the kids. If their friend is a person who constantly inviting them to do aggravated robberies or burglaries or, get into fights and stuff, then it's the job of the parent to say, hey, don't hang out with that kid, because if you keep hanging out with that kid, you're going to get yourself into trouble. That's the role of a parent. That often parents might be a bit scared because they want to be the friend of the kid, The kid's got enough friends. They need two parents, and that's important, eh? So if you look at those 4 legs, if all 4 legs were functioning well, the kid's awesome, solid foundation. The difficulty comes when those things start to fall apart.
Yes.
And when they start to fall apart, the kid can't balance, and that's when you've got a youth at risk. I just want to point out why it is that Māori and Pacific are so susceptible to the gangs, is because if you have that scenario, but it's not functioning properly, then the gangs can say, oh, you want whānau? Yeah, we can be your whānau. Oh, you want education? We can make you streetwise. Oh, you want employment? You can come sell for us. You want a community? Come join us. You want culture? We've got that too, eh? And if you're looking for friends, so everything that the kid needs, the gang has a counterfeit to it, has a way of filling it. If the family and the school and the community aren't doing it properly, eh? And that's why so many of our Pacific Island Māori go down that road. So it's really, really important. Now, having said that, here's where the suicide bit comes in, all right? So in my experience, the family can fall apart and the kid can still function. The kid can fail at school, but they can still operate. The kid can break the rules of the community and he can still go. But the last leg, the legs of the friend. Once the husband, wife, the
girlfriend,
fiance, says, you know what, I don't want you anymore. If all of the legs are broken and that's the final leg to go, that person has nothing to live for.
To lean on.
That's it. And so at that point they think, you know what, there's only one way out. And that's what I've found in my experience when I'm working with young people. The first thing I do is I look at the legs, and I've trained social workers to do the same. You can do quickly and figure out, okay, the role of a social worker is to repair the family, is to get them back into school or get them a job, is to, make sure that they're not getting in trouble in the community and choosing their friends carefully. That's the role of social work. So, with that pattern, with that particular template, you can look at your own children and you can figure out how at risk they are by how many legs they have. So that when those all 4 legs go, that's when we find that our young people are giving up because none of the foundation is there. And so I want to encourage our parents to be parents, not to be friends, but to be parents and have a look at where their kids are, ask those questions, of themselves or to their kids. And they may find that, what looks really stable is actually not stable when the kid starts to cry and explain that, oh, the teacher hates me at school and stuff like that. So, it's the role of the parent to monitor and to encourage
and follow through, eh?
It is. It's really important.
If things like that happen, follow through, eh?
It is.
Identify what is the issue there.
Unfortunately, I know too, and from my generation, my parents, they didn't have time to go to school and see what we were up to, and even going along to meet the teacher was a struggle for the parents that are working 2 jobs, and that as well. So, and part of it too is I didn't want our parents to come and hear how bad I was. So it's
you
from
get
the teacher.
Anything, eh? Either the broom or
But I think it's important for our parents to realise too that times have changed. And the pressure that are on our young people, especially because of things like instant mobile phones and everything is so fast for our young people that the kids are struggling with their own issues, different from our issues. Eh? And a lot of the pressure that they have is, I put it like this: even though a young person lives in a small world, the pressure that they are facing, their problems in the small world, are quite big in their small world.
Yes.
So they don't have to worry about paying the mortgage. They don't have to worry about putting food on the table. They don't have to worry about all that stuff. But they're trying to manage their relationships, and who likes them and who doesn't like them, and having the right clothing and all that stuff. And to us, it might be trivial, but to them, that's their world. So they're trying their best to keep their world, and that's just part of growing up. And we as parents have to be patient with that, and we need to be monitoring, and we need to be encouraging them as best we can, even though we might not fully understand. We don't know what they get up to on their phone and stuff. Half the things we don't know how to do ourselves. But that's the world our young people live in. So it's important our parents make an effort.
I think you mentioned, you brought out a key point, being patient. As you can see, you and I are parents. And that's one thing that I've identified as being patient, because of our children, young children of today, is totally different to 10 years ago or 20 years ago.
True.
And I'm going through that learning stage, understanding this. With the teenager that I have, he just mentioned a lot of things which fit into my shoes.
Yeah.
To making sure, and I'm pretty sure it will fit to our viewers and parents who are watching this program this afternoon.
Can I give you an example of how we have to be flexible? So we have friends that come over for our daughters bring their friends home, and so I always try to sort of move out, because who wants to talk to their friends when their parents are in the room, eh? So I sort of try to move out. One particular time, they had the friend come over, and we had a nice dinner, and I let them go into the lounge, and I started packing up so that they could spend maximum time. When I'd finished, I looked at the time and thinking, okay, so I need to get out of the lounge, let them have some time. And so I thought I'd go to the room. So I just went into the lounge where everybody was, and I said, okay, guys, I'm off to bed, have a good time, and said hello to the guy and said, okay, I'm off. And I said, oh, well, I've just cleaned up the kitchen. Can we make sure it's like that in the morning, I didn't think anything more, went to sleep. Woke up the next morning, my wife says, oh, the girls are upset with you. I said, why? She says, oh, you said something last night. I said, what did I say? So I went and sat the girls down and said, what was it? And they said, well, one of my daughters starts crying. She says, Dad, we know you're the authority, but you didn't have to say it like that. And I said, say it like what? Hey, So what they're saying is, Dad, you can say what you'd like to say, but it has to be said this way.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
And that's just the way the young people do it. It's like,
respond to
yeah,
it.
imagine if I went to my father and says, Dad, you can tell me off, but don't tell me off like that. Mate, I'd be punched into next week. I'd be waking up in the hospital.
Come here, so.
Exactly. But that's the difference,
Yes.
So I just took that on board. So, okay, sorry. Yeah, okay. And you just have to adapt, because if you don't, then you're going to be that guy that nobody in the family wants to talk to.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so you just have to make those changes. And as I soften in that sense, because even though I didn't think I had to soften, but you just have to adjust. And there'll be some parents going, no way, I'm not going to adjust. But if you don't, you're going to lose your kids. They're not going to want to hang around you, or they're not going to want to come visit you later on when they have their own kids and they won't want to bring the grandkids around, because you're that guy. So it's really important that we adjust. And long story short, when you look at the way our parents raised us, all the parents went to the same parenting program back in the islands. It's called the Jandal program. The Jandal was the answer to everything that they didn't know. So we don't want to follow that, And even myself, when I look back at the way my mum and dad raised me and the mistakes I felt they made, and I said, you know what, I'm never going to do that or that. And then when that blood hits the back of your head, when you get angry, the next thing you go, I sound like my father.
Yes.
So that's the sort of thing where we need to adapt, We need to change.
There are things you can bring forward, to discipline, or there are things you leave behind.
That's true.
So does the law create a huge influence into this as we are moving forward?
Yeah, well,
play a part in it?
The difficulty I think we're having at the moment is, and a lot of people have said that, the government are actually trying to be the parents now. I'll give you an example. The law was changed recently where your daughter at school can be taken by a counsellor or a teacher to go and have an abortion, and the parents never get told. Like, that's something parents should be making a decision with and discussion with their kids. It's not something that the law should be messing with.
It's common sense.
It is.
It's common
sense.
But the law has been...
Yeah, these sorts of things are coming in now, and they're saying, okay, kids now can be vaxxed without parents' permission. When those things go wrong, when abortions go wrong, when the vax goes wrong, then it's going to be the parents that have to mop up the mess. So it's really important that, I believe, that parents still maintain their role of being parents.
Yes.
And the government needs to make sure that they create the sufficient laws that the parents can do what they need to do. But I'm seeing more and more where the government is starting to take control of families. And you have a look at things like, again, the gender therapy ban. So I think we discussed this before, where you know, if somebody comes home from school, says that they're a girl but they want to be a boy, and we as a parent say, no, you were born that way, you know, I'm going to walk you through and we're going to work on this together. If that child goes back to school and says to the teacher, oh, my mum or my dad said no, then we can go to prison for up to 5 years.
For saying no.
Saying no to your kid.
That's the law. 5 years.
That's the law. So we need to be, you know, parents need to be aware of this, and we need to be pushing back a little, because if we don't, the next thing is, you know, we're not going to be able to do anything for our kids, and all decisions will be made by government. So, yeah, that's part of the role of Family First. We keep watching what's coming. We can see very quickly what's happening overseas, because really what happens overseas eventually ends up here.
Eventually comes here.
Yeah. Another thing too is, you know, the whole cannabis thing. We won the cannabis thing, but all of a sudden the government now wants to come back and reintroduce that and say, hey, you know, let's look at this again. The referendum already said no, but they're going, well, it was just no, but you know, maybe it could be yes. So those sorts of things, families need to be aware of, because if they don't understand the arguments, if they don't understand, you know, the for and against, but they just listen to one side of the story, which is unfortunately the media.
Yep.
The media are the ones that are educating us. Then they're going to make ill-informed decisions, and that's our role, is to make sure that we give both sides of the story.
And we are getting, as you mentioned about the media getting involved, it's true. But however, we come back to the statistics of the suicide side of things. What is the percentage right now for our Pacific Islands?
For Pacific, I don't know. I had a look at the stats, but it didn't show the stats in the articles that I was reading. But I would, I wouldn't even try and guess. I'm just concerned in particular for the fact that with our Pacific, all the other races went down, you know, over the last couple of years, but we've been up, even though it was from about 7 to 9%. That still concerns me. And the fact that we're dealing now with kids under the age of 14, you know, all attempting suicide, I'm thinking that's far too young to be thinking that
to lose their life.
Exactly. So it's up to our parents to monitor that, because, you know, the kids they need parents to be able to monitor and encourage them.
It's quite funny. Now, we as parents have to monitor that. How about the law coming to, you know, to provide support on that side?
Well, that's difficult. I don't know how that's ever going to come about, but I think from our Pacific perspective, you know, our kids they're precious, eh? You know,
Yes,
the Bible tells us they're a gift from God, and they belong to Him. And the role of our parents is to look after them, so that you know, they're in good shape and able to become those adults that God designed them to be.
Thank you very much. Lastly, you know, we mentioned some we mentioned a lot for the parents. What else we can encourage the parents? You know, what encouraging words that we can actually encourage our parents to actually, you know, monitor and take care of their young ones, not to fall into this situation, you know?
I'd like to encourage them, if I could, to learn what they call the love languages. And there's 5 love languages, which I think, you know, if they could Google, even if their children that are watching with them could say, oh, I'll look that up. If you learn the love languages, one of the things that hurt me a lot in the police was when I was talking to our Pacific kids in the gangs, or, you know, and I'd say to them, you know, why? And they'd say, oh, because my parents don't love me. And I know that most, you know, 99.9% of parents, Pacific parents in particular, love their kids, but they're not getting that message across. So they're speaking the wrong language. And I really do want to encourage our Pacific parents to look at the 5 love languages, you know, which is touch, affirming words, time, what's the other one? Acts of service. If they look them up, have a look and identify what the language of their child is, and then love them that way. For example, if their kid is is physical touch. You know, that's the kid that always wants to sit on your lap or wants to hold your hand, or and they're
play around, play with them.
They're asking in their love language. Do you love me? Do you love me? And if a parent goes, go away, it's hot. You basically said in their language, no, no, I don't love you. And if that's what they get all their life, then you can see why at 1 o'clock in the morning they're sitting on the curb when a cop comes along and says, bro, what are you doing here? And then of course it's important too that parents do their very best, like the Bible says, not to upset their children, not to make their kids angry. And I mean, I'm hoping it's not as bad as it used to be, but the fact that some fathers come home drunk and just want to beat up the mum and the kids, and the mum's out housey all the time, no food in the cupboard, that's the sort of stuff that kids are thinking, you know what, they don't love me at all. So I'm hoping that we've moved from that, but still, we just have to check ourselves, because I'm sure some of the eyeing are there going, oh yeah, that's auntie, and not us. But we need to improve. We need to be able to do. We need to make those changes so that our homes are safe, our homes are loving, our homes are the place that our kids just love being at, as opposed to wanting to get out on the street because they're sick of fighting dad, or getting told to do this, do that, and because a lot of parents think kids are slaves. And so, we need to change our mentality. And this is the time to do it now, because the stats are showing our kids are struggling.
Okay, my friend, we have come to the end of our discussion this afternoon. Once again, I just want to thank you very much for accepting the invitation to share this special moment to our viewers and our people who are watching our program this afternoon. Thank you once again, everybody, for watching, and we hope you have learned and captured a lot of good things from this interview this afternoon. And of course, to our parents, to love your children, take care, and ensure they're doing well, not falling in the hands of where I'm coming from. So when you say something, follow through and do something for your children. And that's from us this evening. Once again, from Nick, my friend here, a liaison from Family First, as one of their key objectives is strong family underpin a strong nation. So, kia kaha, kia manuia, and thank you all.